What's up, everyone? We are coming at you live after match day 1 of the 2025 Richmond Ivy season. This is going to be definitely a happy pod. I think we saw a lot of great things in match day 1, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Alex and Alan, neither of which actually were in the stadium this week, but that's okay because we got our test run for how the live streams will be going from City Stadium. So, Alan, both tell us why you were not at the match and also your thoughts on the stream quality. What did we miss when we were in the stadium?
So while the Ivy was taking a good old whooping to the Virginia Beach, whatever's United's is, I was enjoying a very nice cocktail in Long Island, New York, at a beautiful wedding. So that was very nice. I was able to catch a little bit of the stream on my phone every so often when I wasn't in a conversation with another human being. So I could see a little bit of it. I will say when I was starting off with it, it was kind of a little jerky, but then as I was looking at it more like later on, it seemed like they got their act together. Although I will say this really annoying thing, and maybe this is just on a replay or if this was in game. I'm not sure because I didn't get it in game, but they do this thing with ads that like you're watching it and then it'll like zoom out and then you see like the game in a little box and then an ad in a little box. And so now basically half the screen is an ad, half the screen is the game for like 30 seconds. And it kind of cuts out the game audio for a little bit. If that's during game time, that's insane. That's unreal. But hopefully it wasn't because hopefully it was just on replay.
Okay. Interesting. Were they local ads?
No, they were for Fandango. So I don't, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Wow. All right. And we have our second stream correspondent also here, Alex. Please tell us why you were not at the game and your takeaway from the recording, the stream.
Yeah. So I was not at the game because I am in my parents' basement. I am visiting family across the country in Middle America. Also, I just want to get out ahead of this. I own multiple shirts. I am wearing the exact same shirt that I wore last week. For those of you who are watching on YouTube at any point, my bad. I will wear a different shirt. This one's clean. I've washed it, but I own multiple shirts. The stream quality I was pleasantly surprised, actually. I agree that the ad thing is extremely annoying. However, I guess like better than just like overlay, like just being like, okay, you're not going to get the next 30 seconds of the game because we're going to this ad. So at least like the game is still in the picture. But yeah, I think that like they followed the game. The camera followed the game pretty well. Like I felt like I could see what was happening the whole time. I genuinely enjoyed being able to hear the crowd noise without having commentary over the top of it, because I find frequently when I'm watching like the Premier League or things like that, I just get mad at the commentators for what they're saying. And so I liked that I could sort of feel the City Stadium vibes without having to have like people talking over it. So I liked it.
Okay, interesting. Because I think they said at some point that like they might have comms, like, or at City Stadium there might have comms. I don't think Sports Engine was like mandating that, but they were like flirting with the idea of doing that at City. But interesting that because I don't know how that was set up. They did have a female PA announcer in stadium, which normally it's a wonderful gentleman named Mike for Kickers games. He is, I guess, off duty. He gets to be a fan at Ivy games. So the staffing is pretty much all women for Ivy games, which is pretty cool. You don't necessarily see that even in women's professional sports very often. So it was cool. Although she did get a few names wrong over the PA. Shout out Riley Fitzgerald in the starting 11. She got Owusu's name wrong. She got Issa's name wrong. So there were a couple hiccups that need to be ironed out in the pronunciation department. Hopefully they'll get her some phonetic pronunciations for this weekend. But otherwise it was very cool to sort of see game day operations being run almost entirely by women, like from the ops building and down on the field. So that was a pretty cool change from Kickers games. Um, there was one other big debut other than the team, and that was the kits. We did hear that CarMax was the big holdup. Is we're supposed to drop a lot earlier than what 3 days before the season started. 2. CarMax, we thank you for your support, but maybe next time can we hit that approval button a little earlier? But would love to hear y'all's thoughts on the 2025 strip.
I've got some decent thoughts. I might want to go last on this one. I have a closet full of kits that I have visual examples.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and go because I'm not that deep with it. I really like the home kits. I like the kits that we wore last night. I'm okay with on the keeper kits, I think. And I don't love the away kits or the secondary or whatever we want to call it. But I think that's fine. Like you're playing away, you're not supposed to have the kit advantage and that kind of stuff. But I actually really like the home kits. I think they're really solid. This may be a hot take. I think they're better than last year's. And I know you're gonna come for me about that, but I really like them, and I am happy to sort of like die on that hill in this argument, and that's okay. But yeah, curious to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I think I think they're fine. I think it's more for me big picture. I think Hummel, great kit. Well, Hummel in theory, great kit partner, owned by one of the co-owners of Forward Madison. So on principle, I do have to hate them and everything they stand for. But I think the interesting thing is when teams are given so much design freedom, they take it. They take it completely. So it is interesting to see how complex these kits are every season. We saw that the Kickers kits too, with like the bridge on the red kit. No, just red. We got to get a bridge in there now that we've got Hummel. So there's like this, like that you can't have just because you have the capacity to design. In my opinion, doesn't mean you have to take it to as the most complicated place it possibly can go. So it is interesting. I think there was like some novelty to last year's kits, but that was not an aberration. That seems to be the standard going forward. Is they're
Devil's
being very
advocate.
playful.
I love the detail. I like the bridge kits. Like I think that stuff's cool. I don't want like the same green, just plain green kit over and over again every year. I like that there's like a difference between last year's kit and this year's kit,
True.
and it makes it worth. I'm sure this is why they do it partially. Like it makes it worth buying this year's kit because
Yeah.
it's a little bit different. So, but anyway, yeah. Sorry, Alan. What do you think? Let's see the visual examples.
Woo! Okay, I'm gonna go off mic for a second, for like 2 seconds, and I'm gonna grab something because I have some visuals here for a moment, please.
Podcasts, as my favorite podcast, Las Culturistas, always say, podcasts are a visual medium. So if you are only listening to podcasts in Big 2025, you are doing it wrong. You're missing an entire dimension to this audio experience. So
Yeah, but it's except for if you're driving. Like if you are driving listening to us right now, like please do not pull out your phone yet. Rewatch at home on YouTube to see Alan's visual examples.
yep, bookmark it,
But
ninth minute.
yeah, exactly. Okay, cool.
Hey everybody, here with your great audio examples. Let me really describe what we're looking at here on an audio visual podcast. So I have 3 kind of examples of green kits that I have. I have a 4th one, but I didn't want to bring it out. So I have one from Nagoya Grampus. This one is kind of classy. It's got some nice green to it. It's got an actual subtle patterning that you can't really see. That's, I forget what it's called, but it's a certain fashion term. My sister will kill me for not knowing this, but it's this very subtle kind of high fashiony pattern, which is very nice. So Mint Kit, which is what we're technically calling the secondary kit, which I have slight beef with it, even though it's the one I ordered. So financially, I do support it. But my biggest problem with it is that the 2 sponsor / Ivy logo marks are too white compared to the mintness of the kit, meaning the readability is like gone. On both the Ivy logo, which is a great logo. So it'd be great if I could see it. I don't have to see the Hummel logo, obviously, but I do kind of want to see the Ivy logo, and the flower is still there. The other thing that bothers me about it is also that the leaf motif design, and I kind of submitted this, and I would love to just put up a picture now. I don't have it because I'm not going to buy their team's kit, but the Portland Timbers this past year did a very, very similar kit. And they had a kind of tree floral design that went down the sleeves too. And that's kind of key for the motif, because right now, how it just sort of like cuts off of the sleeves just makes it look like a weird vesty kind of thing, which is nice. But I think they could go a little bit more with it. These are anyway the other green kits that we have. Again, nice subtle patterning, nice little detailing on both the logo stamps. And listen, if we can go hoops at some point, that's great. Like I think green has so many different things to it. And if this is just me putting myself on blast for the amount of money I've spent on all of these things, that's fine. Because I know there's one guy who's listening to this who knows my sickness. And you know what, Tom? It's fine.
Sickness it's a disease.
Yeah.
Get well soon. But we are all sickos here, so there's no room to judge. Is this what you were talking about? See everybody?
Yes. On the video. So yeah, you can see it on Kate's screen. The sort of like whole body kind of
drivers, the drive and listen crowd is just so lost at this point. But it's totally okay. Just like you said, bookmark it, come back, watch it. It's worth it.
Yeah. It's worth it. All right. Yeah. So we're going to talk kits more at the end. So don't go anywhere. Sit tight. If you're only listening to this podcast for kit talk, we will have more. But we might actually talk a little bit about the actual soccer game too. And to kick things off, we got a starting 11 post. I don't think there were any typos in it, which was kind of huge. Actually, no, I think the first post said against Charlottesville Blues, and they deleted it and reposted it. Running theme might be just tracking the number of typos that happen in Richmond Ivy posts, because last season there was the incredible, iconic typo where one of the away graphics had Dakota Barnathan on the bench instead of Dakota Brown. So yeah, he got the call.
What a sub that would have been. Let's bring on the captain. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, about a foot taller than everyone else on the field. So we got our first starting 11 of the 2025 season. I think there weren't a lot, I think a lot of those names were what we expected to see. And then, of course, we had our good old W League pre-professional curveball thrown at us, which was a name none of us had ever seen before in the starting 11. Shea Doherty, Doherty, depending on your pronunciation. I'll have to see how she pronounces it. There's a couple ways. It's an Irish last name. I did hear directly from Mr. Ucrop himself up in the press box that she was a late addition to the squad. She went to Christopher Newport University and graduated in 2019. So she is by far the oldest member of the squad. She was a 4-year. After the match, I've now looked up her stats. She was a 4-year starter at CNU. She's a defender. And of course, I've now lost where I wrote information about her. She was a 4-year starter, and she, out of 86 matches she played over 4 years, she started 81 of them. So was a 4-year starter. She ended up with 1 goal and 10 assists from her position. And she started the match last night at left back. But mostly the rest of the squad were names that we'd seen before. But
any indication of what she's been doing since? Like has she been around the game for the last?
Also, quick question: can we do this? Can who's not a college player?
Yeah.
Yep.
We can.
I've been saying Kate should be out there. I don't know why she's just a podcast host when she could be a Richmond Ivy. We can handle it from here, or you can be a player / co-host.
Right. The player manager is out. Player podcast co-host.
I think it's a great idea. Kristen Press is doing it.
Kristen Press is groundbreaking in this genre of player. Tobin Heath, not so much.
Yeah, she's more of a
return.
host than a player these days. But
sorry, Tobin.
Yeah.
I know you can. She technically would be eligible to be paid. She could be paid. There's no rules against players being paid. They just can't if they're active collegiate players because they would go against NCAA eligibility. Yeah, she has a full-time job, is what Rob told me. She did not say in what field, but that I guess she'd been looking to get back into the game, and she held her own out there with a bunch of 19 to 22 year olds.
Balled. Like I was very impressed for somebody that we had no idea. Like she was balling. I liked it.
Yeah, she got a shot off, didn't she? She was putting in work. She was like wing backing it, which is pretty insane for that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and went 80 minutes as well, which is really impressive to me as someone who is very out of shape, not playing soccer on a regular basis, being 80 minutes match fit with, again, a bunch of in-season college players is up there with incredibly impressive feats. What were other names that stood out? I think, some of them like Hargrove, we expected to see. Pustover, we expected to see. Woodson, Barry, Fitzgerald, Flamia. I think, yeah. So there were maybe like Choprek, Elevara, Tucker, and Simmons playing actually center back, I guess, would be the four that stood out to me.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
Okay, I'll go. Nobody, not any other standouts that I was like, oh my God, they're in the starting 11. I am shocked. But I will say, just because like, I don't think we had a really good grasp on who was going to start, what we were going to see, what an exact depth chart looked like. But performance-wise, I think there were a lot of surprises for me, like very positive surprises as well, by the way, of like, wow, you're really good at this game. And so I was pretty impressed with a few names, which we can talk about a little bit later on as we start to talk a little bit more about the play itself.
Cool. Alan.
Yeah, I was going to say Tucker. We just talked about it. Like, again, we did not know the depth chart. We did not know really who was going to start above anybody else. In all my planning, I had Tucker as like second or third build on pretty much any of the ones that I had mocked up for. I didn't know, but obviously I don't know ball because she balled out and we're going to talk about it, but oh my God. Yeah. So that not only surprised me in just that she was starting, but then continued to surprise me as we saw her play.
Agreed. One or two other names. I think we didn't know where Gianna Shaprek played at all. So outside back, but she also moved into the midfield a little later on in the game. Last season, Pustover played at right back for pretty much the entire season. So seeing her at center back was a little bit of a change, and partnered with Cam Simmons, who played center back a good bit in her collegiate season. Hearing that that's something that her college coach, because she had one coach at Tennessee who then moved to FSU, brought her with him, that's something he's wanted her. That's a transition he's wanted her to make. And as we mentioned last week, if you want to be in the Jamaica squad, you're competing against Bunny Shaw in the forward role. So finding another role is important. And she is definitely not a traditional center back, which we'll talk about, but was very effective back there. And then the other one that in the midfield, we were wondering who sort of was going to step in for Hannah Heaton, and Issa Elevara, I thought, had a really, really great match. And she announced, I think, the morning of the match that she was switching colleges. So now she's at Iowa State, not UCF, where she was before. So another big program, but hopefully she'll get more minutes in her season in the fall, because she looked very, very confident and composed in that midfield. The one name that I was hoping to see on the bench that we did not see was J. Flamia. We instead got M. Flamia, the third in the set, the youngest. So still no Jill sightings, although Rob did say she's very good and we'll be excited to see her play. prayer circle that at some point this season we will see her play. And then one last thing I wanted to mention, we talked about Walker Bristow as an announced name. She is injured. Her foot was in a boot. Don't know specifically what the injury was. I just saw her down on the field with a boot on. So not sure if we'll actually see her play this season. It's a very short season. So that's a bit of a disappointment, but so that's one. Hopefully that's the only injury to an unannounced Ivy player picked up during spring season.
Yeah, the whole Cam Simmons center back and like Issa Elvira playing she looked like she was playing like a 6, basically like a defensive center mid, and that is like a partnership or sort of like a thing that I want to talk about, whether that's now or a little bit later in the show, because I was super impressed with like you kind of alluded to it, Kate, right there, that like Cam is not a traditional center back. Like she's kind of playing like center back / wing. Like she put in like 3 crosses from like deep in the right corner, and I was like, oh, that's my center back out there. But the thing that I will say about like Issa Elvira, we talked about her on the preseason podcast being like a kind of a coach's daughter, like seems to have quite the mind for the game. Like, and I don't know how much Owusu is talking to them about this as well, but like every time you see Cam like really, really push forward, which we absolutely want to see her do because just like watch it happen, it's incredible. Issa just sort of like slides back in behind and becomes this like makeshift center back until Cam is able to sort of like recover and get back there. And the first time I saw Cam in the corner, I was like, Cam, what are you doing? Like you have to be back. You have to be back here, dude. And she didn't have to be, because Issa was like doing such a good job of filling in there. And I was really happy to see the way that they were sort of like switching around and pivoting and working together to sort of like fill that.
Yeah, we can get into the first half and sort of things, but I think positional fluidity was definitely a pretty common theme. You saw a lot similar fluidity between Taylor Berry and Olivia Woodson, where started out with Taylor on the left and Olivia central, but then not 2/3 in like the 27th, 28th minute, they switched and Taylor was playing centrally and Olivia was playing on the wing in the first half, and that kind of continued in the second half as well. So there was kind of Olivia was able to, I think she has a bit more pace than Taylor does, and Taylor definitely instinctually like stays on the back line rather than like dropping deeper the way Tucker was dropping a little deeper, playing in more of a winger attacking role, was Berry was actually sort of like flush. I was in the press box for the entire match, so I kind of had a bird's eye view. I think from the opposite side of the stream. So you all were looking at the crowd and I was looking at the empty stands on the other side. But yeah, I noticed a lot of positional fluidity among the attackers, which was very subtle. Like you didn't necessarily notice. It wasn't a kind of like, all right, here we go, we're switching. It was very fluid, which was impressive chemistry.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Did you see anything that indicated to you that was like because that change, particularly the like Woodson going inside and Barry coming out, or the other way around, I can't remember, seemed very intentional, because it happened at, like you said, like the 27th, 28th minute, and then it stuck for the last like 20 minutes of the half. Did you see anything that, or see them talk about it or anything that was something that they definitely wanted to do, or it just kind of happened and stayed that way?
I think they wanted to do it, but I think they wanted the fluidity, because in the second half I noticed it even more, especially before Woodson came off, that she started the second half again centrally, but at least 3 times, and her goal came from her underlapping Barry onto the wing, Barry moving central, and either playing the ball into Barry, making that run, or her pulling the defender and Woodson, like making the run into the box from the wing. So it almost became more fluid in the second half. Like it felt like when they made the switch, they kind of stayed that way. But in the second half, you actually saw them more moving back and forth between those two positions. So maybe even the first half was meant to be that fluid, but it took them like a half to figure out how they actually like move around each other, because the second half it was very seamless. Like they would spend about equal amount of time in each role, which worked because both of them ended up scoring from the same side, from like making that run from the outside in. So love to see that, and definitely something hopefully we'll ask Owusu about in a future either press conference or interview. Alan, what did you see in the first half?
Two of the things that really struck out to me was, one, I just kept a tally of like how much Tucker was shooting or whipping crosses in. There was one, I think it was in the first half still, and it was this beautiful whipped in cross. It came in low and it should have been a goal. I forget who is at back post, but it was actually whipped by two players, which either one would have been amazing because it would have just launched directly into the net. It would have been beautiful. Just didn't get the positioning exactly right, but it was a beautiful whipped in cross. Like if she can get deliveries in like that consistently, like that was really low key amazing. Like she was already getting offensive numbers like shooting and things like that. But the fact that she was getting on target with a lot of these crosses and it was like just off. But like that's what I want to see. I was also seeing two things. One is obviously we talked about it a little bit, but Woodson's explosiveness, which is something that like as a striker is like literally, it's like your house key on your key ring. Like it's what you use. Like more than anything, it's what you use. And I think especially when we were talking about her and Barry kind of making that overlapping decision, I think as a forward, what you do is you pace it out game by game and see like, okay, are we getting in on the left hand or the right hand? Is it more effective if I'm the one who does this or you? If I can get past them and get it into you, is that something that we're going to use? Because there were so many times she would take it right into the left and she would either just push it right that thing and just go directly into the box and get past it instantly, or do some great hold up play, see Barry on the right and then pass back in. That is what I saw. And I also saw continuously, and we saw it in the first half and the second half, Flamia just cutting through people like butter. Like there were times where I was like, is there any other player on the pitch? Like what's happening? Like she would just go through people and she would just glide. And that was amazing. I think having a central midfield player that can unlock that for a game, that can then have those centralized options. And you just always know, especially as your offensive players, knowing that you have a creative center midfielder like that can just kind of like get in that position, get centrally, get top of the box, and then be able to distribute wherever, which is where she was doing. Granted, there were still some kind of passing mistakes. There were a lot of them, but honestly, also it's our first game. I can totally forgive like some little passing mistakes here and there, because a lot of it was really, I was so impressed in about like the 20th, like 30th minute. There was like some 1-2 touch passing that felt like you guys have been playing for a whole season. It felt like, I don't know about you if you were looking at that, but
Yeah.
that's
Well,
kind of what it was.
for the entire first half, Virginia Beach wasn't pressing at all. Like it was actually kind of wild how much they were stepping off, and they couldn't connect any passes, and the midfield was just pouncing on every loose ball, or was just was bullying for the VB players off the ball, like in the midfield. Like they really, I don't think they strung more than like 3 passes together the entire first half.
Couldn't have been. No. And like they were stepping up to every single ball.
Yeah, I had a note at like 34 minutes into the first half where I'd literally just, my note was, we are just better. Like we are just a better team than them. And so from that point on, it became the one thing I will say about the first half. And obviously we can talk about Tucker's goal, which was incredible. The first like 25 minutes, other than that goal, the cross that you're talking about, Alan, like so many opportunities in the first 30 minutes that I was like a little bit nervous of like, I felt like we should be up 4-0 in the first like 30-35 minutes. And I was starting to get a little worried of like, I hope this isn't who we are, you know, like we're going to just we are going to dominate the midfield. We're going to look far superior defensively. We're going to create all these chances. And then, you know, it's going to be tied at halftime 0-0. And like, we're going to play that way. So that's the one sort of I hope, and it's first game of the season, so I hope that like, and you could tell certain players I think were a little bit nervous, like playing in front of that crowd, and like the atmosphere looked incredible. I just hope that we can bury a few more of them as we keep going through the season.
Agreed. And with that, we got one goal. We did get one great goal in the first half, and it felt like one that had been coming. Alan, do you want to take us through what went down on that goal?
Woo! I mean, like, she was from minute one, what I kept seeing was like, God, she's getting past him like real easy. And she would just put on something on the Jets on the right hand side. And the way that she left off, so she comes rolling into the box. She's taken about three defenders are like following her on this. She comes in, she holds up play for a second, sees the opportunity, sees the tiny window open up, and just shoots it from, it felt like halfway, but it wasn't. Like, it was definitely closer than that, but it felt like she launched it from the other side of the field, and it just went like beautifully, just woo, and just completely went in. Like, that kind of stuff as a forward is so exciting to see, that somebody has like that innate ability to not only like read the passage of like defenders, like when you know an opening is going to open up, and also to know like, I can make this, like I can, if I hold it up now and I give myself the opportunity, keeper's right there, just launch it, it's gonna go. Like, if I did my job right, it's going in. Like, and I think she bets on herself with that. That was a high confidence shot. Like, that was not just like, I'm just going to shoot it and see what happens. That's it. No, I know it's a goal. And like, that's how that went in. And it was just like, and again, the other thing about it was, I think this is what made it feel like it was from halfway, is because Simmons launches it from all the way back. And so it felt like the play started in like the 5 seconds before the goal was at like Hargrove and then Simmons and then that. So it felt insane, but it was so cool.
Yeah. Like it was so fast. It happened so quickly.
Yeah, and like you touched on it there at the end, Alan. Like, what a ball from Cam Simmons. Like, my goodness. Like, and like the build up was like short and quick, but it was, I thought, really, really good. Like, Lauren Hargrove sort of plays a skip pass out to Doherty or Doherty or however we're gonna figure out how to pronounce that.
D-Town.
Yeah, amazing. Like, she brings the ball down on one touch really, really cleanly, sort of sweeps it back across to Cam. Cam just picks her head up and says, "Oh, really? You're on the other side of the field? Let me just drop this ball at your feet, like inside the 18." Amazing ball. And then, yeah, like we already talked through, the entire finish was so good.
Yeah.
And she deserved that too. Like, she had been playing so well down the right side, and like we were only 20 minutes into the game or whatever, 17, I think, but like she already had earned that goal in that game.
Yeah, I think by the time she had that goal in the 20th minute, she'd already had 2 shots and 3 shots, one of which was on target. So she'd already had 3 shots in the first 20 minutes. So that was her 4th. So just really, really impressive work rate. And she mentioned, I asked her in the post-game interview to tell me more about what she typically plays in at school, since we have no insight into that. And she said she actually typically plays on the left, but that shot, I think I said I don't know anything about feet. Like, that's not something I'm looking at, but that was from off her left foot. That was a beautiful left-footed shot. So if she typically is playing on the left, I would be curious to know. I know, and she definitely took shots with her right, just based on her positioning for some of those shots. So she clearly has a lot of control over both feet and is an option on either side.
Yeah, because I know from my playing that like a lot of players, when you put them at like a left mid wide player, they're usually left footed. But normally, if you get like somebody like a winger, like somebody who's like an out and out, like borderline, can get in there in like a centralized forward position, they need to. They normally put them in like as whatever your opposite foot is. So it would make sense that like maybe she plays in more of a wide position at GSU, and we're playing her more of like a right winger here. So we want that to be on the left foot so she can make shots like that. So like, I think,
Like the greatest player in world football, Bukayo Saka. We can all agree on that being true. Yeah, I see your Spurs jersey, by the way, over there, Kate. But anyway, sorry. Well, that was a cheap shot. We can move on. I just wanted to get that in there. Come on, you Gunners.
I don't know who that man is. Yeah, so I think those are some of the big takeaways. Just some, I was tracking numbers so that we could actually have some things to compare at the end of the season. The Ivy ended up having they dominated the first half, 11 shots, 5 on target. I didn't really know what to count. Cam hit the woodwork at one point, but it wasn't a shot. It was definitely a cross. So I didn't put that as a shot because she didn't intend for that, but because it hit the woodwork almost parallel to it, like it was going across the goal and hit the woodwork. It was not actually like straight on. So it kind of falls in the in-between category there. But just, yeah, ideally you wouldn't have 5 shots on target with only 1 goal. Ideally we can improve that ratio, which they did in the second half, to be fair. But that first half, there were so many chances created. And shots came from Tucker, Woodson, Barry, Flamia, and Simmons. So there were a wide range of players.
Yeah, I felt like, and I think this was just because Sunniyah Tucker was playing so well, like partially, but like I think having Cam play like a right center back and her being like, she is the trigger point of the attack a lot of times. I think, at least from my perspective, it felt like we were playing down the right a lot in the first half. And so I don't know if that was intentional, but you had Olivia Woodson on the other side for a lot of that game. So, or for a lot of that first half. So I was hoping that we would sort of like get some width the other way. We did eventually, and we started to see flashes, I think, in the first half of like what Olivia Woodson could bring. She had one like incredible turn into a shot that I think she put off the crossbar or like just over. That was really, really nice. But I wrote down for the first half for Olivia Woodson, like she seems like a very good, very skilled player in a new system. Like she was sort of like growing into the game. And then as we talk about the second half, like the first 20 minutes of the second half, she was just like burning everyone and their mother. And it was, I was like, this is it right here.
Right. It switched. Tucker came out in the 50th minute. So transitioning to the second half, Tucker came out in the 50th minute. Macy Landell came on. She obviously, we talked about what a great breakout season she had at Mary Washington, but and so Tucker was a freshman this year and Macy was a sophomore. So Tucker is younger than Landell is, but Tucker felt a little more productive maybe. And like she had a little bit more power in what she was doing. Like her shots had more power. Her crosses had more power. Landell's pace was just bonkers, but it definitely felt like she didn't create as much quality as Tucker did. So you could really see the point of attack transitioned after Tucker came out to the left side, which can't complain because when you've got Taylor Berry and Olivia Woodson combining like they were for the first 20 minutes, good things happen. So I guess that was it's really cool to see that the front three like goals can come from either side. Like you're not dependent on either one, but they offer very different things. Like they're very different styles of play were happening on each side.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Landell. We can get to it when we can. Are we going and shifting into the second half, or are we kind of
second half? Oh,
yeah. So Landell's like, so Tucker comes out like 5 minutes after the half, right? So that, which I thought, I mean, honestly, she was running a whole lot. Young player, I guess you kind of want to shift that in and out and seeing, and maybe they're shifting it. Like, we don't know what the system is either. So we don't know if like it was a toss up. Like maybe Tucker was starting this one, but maybe Landell was like a candidate. So maybe that's what they wanted is like, okay, Tucker's going to play the first half and then Landell's going to play the second. And we're going to kind of see how that works within our system. And you can definitely see the two differences. I think you are absolutely right when you say that when you see Landell, she's not putting in the kind of offensive output as much. But I was writing in my notes, like her positioning, and when she gets into those positions, like if she can get a better passing ability, like even during this season, like she's getting to the end line and like she could really just cross it in because she gets there and then there's no defender and you could do it, but she would often just kind of run it and like maybe hit it a little too hard and it would kind of go off and then we'd get a goal kick and we do whatever. But if she can get that a little bit more calm, like she's great. I also didn't know she'd be on the wing. I thought she'd be a midfielder, so I truly happy surprise.
I think last season she only made a couple of sub appearances last season, but I feel like I remember her playing centrally. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. To me, like similar observation to what you guys had said. To me, she almost looked nervous. Like she was, when she had the ball at her feet, she was timid in terms of like trying to make a progressive play. It was like, I'm going to play a sideways pass or I'm going to play a drop, much less than like Sunniyah Tucker. The whole first half was just like, I see you in front of me. I don't really care. I'm going to beat you, and then I'm going to play across, or I'm going to lob the ball gorgeously into the back of the net. Like, I feel like Macy Landell was just like, I mean, there's 6,000 people there, season opener. I felt like she was just like, I don't want to make a mistake. And I hope, because she is lightning quick. And whenever she was the runner, when somebody else was playing the ball to her, like, I think that's where she was really strong. I was just worried, not worried, but I was just like, every time she got the ball, I was just like, go, 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 do it. And I think she will. But I think maybe it was just like nerves got her a little bit.
Yeah, agree. Because there was one play. I know we've glossed over Woodson's goal. We'll get to it. Stop yelling. But there was one play where Barry like brought the ball out of the half, and she was surrounded by like 5 Virginia Beach defenders, and she plays like a ball. Landell was like 10 yards behind her, like in the Ivy half, like on the complete opposite side of the field. And Barry plays the ball to the left, like diagonally towards like the corner flag. And Landell burns the entire team of like 5 defenders, gets there first. And Barry, to her credit, has continued her run, got in the box, and Landell's cross in. Barry wins. I'm pretty sure she won the ball, and like 3 Virginia Beach players all went up for it and all cracked heads and fell on the ground. It was like the most like farcical like situation where like Landell was burning them for speed. Barry was out jumping them. They all like fall down in a huge clatter. And it was like, I've never seen a player probably run that fast in front of my eyes. She burned 5 defenders from 10 yards behind them to the opposite corner flag.
Yeah, the line judge has never seen anybody run that fast either, because they called her off on one, and I was like, no, I disagree with you. She's just faster than them. Like, but anyways, I was yelling at the TV quite a bit on that one.
But we will rewind to what I think we're hoping for in the first half in terms of how quickly they were going to get on the scoreboard, because Olivia Woodson wasted absolutely no time in this second half, saying, I know I only got a couple shots in the first half and the play was going down at the right, so let me just show not just my pace and sort of positioning, but sublime technicality on this finish. Alex, you want to talk us through this one?
Yeah, I mean, it is what we expected to see from Olivia Woodson. And we talked about this, like the moment the second half started, it was like the switch flipped, and just like for the first 10 minutes or 20 minutes or however, I can't remember when she got subbed off into the second half, but it was just like all of a sudden the afterburners were on. She was taking on everybody. She was beating everybody. Like great dribbling. The goal itself, like the ball from Taylor Berry was, I put like a good enough ball, like a great turn and a great finish. Like I think the ball was what it needed to be to get it to her feet. She sort of took it and turned, and this time when she took it and turned, she was able to put the ball in the back of the net. The little chip, it was hard to see on the broadcast if she truly chipped her and it went over her, or if it was like just to the side of her. Either way, like really clever little finish. And
it was a true chip, as the keeper was dropping.
Yeah,
and she just
that's
like
nice.
It was so like watching that live, because that she moved to the press box side where I actually had the angle on her, as opposed, I think you guys had a way better view of her first half being like with the broadcast on that side. seeing that goal live, that was like an Emmy Terzaghi finish. Like that, the composure and that is a she made it look so easy. She made it look like the only option she had, and it was just complete. Of course, you're going to chip the keeper there. That is so difficult to do, to keep your composure. I mean, she didn't even chip it very far. This was not a rocket to the far corner. Like this was a just gentle, lofted right over the keeper who was dropping and just had no choice but to look at it like drifts almost lazily like over her shoulder. It was just all those things came together. It was such a mature goal, especially with the, we talked about the expectations, the pressure she must have been feeling coming in as a player with who scored so many goals, who wants to get on the score sheet for the Ivy. For that to be her first goal was just, it was I wanted to stand up and applaud in the press box. Like it was just, I've not seen a player at her sort of like age and level score a goal with that much composure. Yeah, I was truly blown away by how good that finish was. They have video of it up on the Instagram, and watching that video, if you've not seen it, it is beautiful. But we didn't have to wait long also for our second goal of the second half, because Taylor Berry said she'd had enough of assisting and wanted to get on the score sheet herself. Although the VB keeper certainly helped her out a little bit on this one.
Dude, I felt so, like we talked about in the first half, like we could have finished better, but like the save on this, all of this to say, like the keeper had played so well up until that point. Like the diving save on Taylor Berry's header in the first half, like she had the only goals that she had given up to this point were like Sunniyah Tucker's picture perfect like play to the back post, and then the one that you just talked about, which was like gorgeous chip finish that like you can just lay on the ground and watch the ball go over you and there's nothing you can do about it. And she had played so well, and then this goal was like, I just feel, like obviously like go Ivy. I want the Ivy to win. I'm not like rooting for her, but like she had played so well, kind of keeping us out a few times. And then this one, it's like when we just keep pounding and creating opportunities, like this kind of stuff is bound to happen. So yeah, great goal from Taylor. But also like, yeah, she fumbled it a little bit.
Yeah, but the Ivy then at that point, so that goal was in the 60th. There'd only been one sub at that point. And as of then, also VB had not had a shot yet. They started making a couple subs. Barry scores in the 60th minute off a Doherty assist, kind of similar to Barry's assist for. But
she did. Our girl Shay did make quite a step to like she won the ball, sort of carried it a little bit, and then played it to her and sort of like ran through off of her to take a defender with her. And I don't know if it got in the way of the keeper, like that defender following Shay through off that run. But like as I was sitting there, I was like, I'd like to think that had something to do with it, and she didn't just like completely drop it,
Yes, we will attribute that to Shay as well, because yeah, she had a hell of a game. So an assist is exactly what she deserved from that performance. I would say right around the 60. So the Virginia Beach had their first shot in the 67th minute, although it was I attributed it as a shot because it was that cross where the forward was like pretty much unmarked at the top of the box, but she just could not redirect it. But she was in the perfect position and the ball came in. She just ended up volleying it like kind of pretty harmlessly out. But kind of from then on, they sort of found life a little bit, and there was kind of a flurry of shots. The flip side of that is Ivy had made over the final few minutes ultimately five subs, so definitely changed out a good portion of the back line. Alan, what were your thoughts on sort of the final 20-ish minutes?
So it's so funny because I was like, when I was watching this, I was like, God, do I need to go get Lauren a book or something, or like a highlights magazine? Like, is she okay? Is she gonna be okay out there? And then as soon as I said that, As soon as I said that, VB just finds something in the water, in the air, and just starts going to town, which, to be fair, part of it is we switched off. Like, there was a lot of, the passes got a lot sloppier. We weren't stepping to the ball as much as we were before. We were kind of just letting them get to the pass they were going to make. We were stepping up. I mean, we're up 3-0. We subbed out a lot. I get it. But it was a very much, we're not only going to take the foot off the gas, we're going to put on the brakes almost a little bit. And that, it just kind of deflated a little bit. They were getting off shots, and to the point where we were just kind of making some really simple mistakes. There was one shot that I had written down that just got, that was like, it was started with nothing. Like, it was from the back. It was like Hargrove passing out, just a normal pass. And then an errant pass from center back just goes to somebody else it shouldn't have. And then VB are on the counter really quickly and almost get one off. It's just that they missed, but it was just, yeah. So I think that they just turned off completely. And part of that is the subs, but part of that I think is just being up 3-0. Like, you could come in being like, oh, I got to really make my mark. I got to do this. Like, I'm not blaming the subs. I think that they probably were doing their best, but also even they probably thought, we're up 3-0. It's just garbage time for some of this at some point. So I think it was a confluence of things, but like, they really just kind of let it go in the last little bit and then found it again. They did kind of find it about, I think on your notes, it's around like 80 something, but like, they kind of find it again and they come back up a little bit, and then VB gets some more shots on. But
Yeah, right.
Question for our resident college soccer expert, Alan. Do we, like, we looked gassed, and is college substitutions like come in, come out kind of whenever, like you can come off and then you can come back on, or does anybody know the ruling? Because it seemed like we were not used to playing like kind of a full 90
I
or
will
close to
say
that.
a funny anecdote after Alan gives the real answer.
You go ahead with your anecdote, because I think you're gonna have it. Yeah.
My anecdote is when we were standing like back by the back dressing room. Rob was down there and the players were sort of walking back to the dressing room after finishing up their signings, and Sarah Flemia confirmed with Rob that they couldn't sub the same player in multiple times. And she was like, but I know you can't do that in the first half, but not even the second half. And he was like, no. No.
I think that tells us what we need to know about what the way they're used to substituting.
Yeah, it's like they have what the MLS does now, which is weird, but they have these like windows where you can just kind of like get out there and you just kind of go to town on like however many subs are going to go on. Like, you could just sub out like whatever, and that's just kind of your window, and then you kind of come back in and out. So it's not like a precision, you're in, you're out. Okay, we have 3 now. We have to be careful with this. I think it is just sort of windows. So you're just kind of waiting for that window to happen, and then everybody gets out there and everybody comes back and then everybody comes out. So I think it is a little bit more, I don't know if it's exactly like, because also I think maybe some conferences do it differently or some divisions do it differently. Could be. I haven't looked at, because the rules recently have changed globally in soccer, like not just in college, but just globally. So it's kind of hard to keep up with it.
Yeah, it's definitely their window constrained now, where you get 5 substitution windows. That includes halftime. So if you only make 4 subs across, like, or if you make 4 windows, maybe, I don't know. Each competition sets the number.
We're in the weeds. We're deep in the substitution.
Yeah.
This is my fault. I own this. That's my bad. But it felt like we are used to getting a blow and then coming back on, which I think we'll have later in the summer when it gets a little warmer and we're taking like hydration breaks and things like that. Maybe that helps our legs last a little bit longer. But we were on the struggle bus towards the end of the game, and like, that's understandable especially if they're not used to that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't help. I think, let me check my subs list to be sure and get the right names. But so in the 74th minute, Morgan Oliver comes in for Olivia Woodson. That was a like-for-like substitution. At the same time, Annabelle Scherer comes in. She takes out Cam Simmons. Scherer goes to right back. Isa Elivara moves back to center back, and Gianna Shoprick moves to midfield. So there's kind of like a full rotation there to get Scherer into her preferred position at right back. Then in the 81st minute, Bree Fulkerson comes in for Shea Doherty. That's a like-for-like substitution. And Madison Abby Saab comes in for Sarah Flamia in midfield. So that's also a like-for-like change. So Madison and Annabelle are both high schoolers. And from what I could tell, Madison is a senior and Annabelle is a sophomore in high school. So that also... a couple of those Virginia Beach players were definitely not college students as well. They were definitely grown women. So there is a slight sort of size/maturity mismatch there when you do have teenagers under the age of 18 playing against some grown
Yeah,
women.
I was just gonna ask you guys, like, out of the subs that came on, if there was anyone that we talked about Macy Lindell kind of already at length, so maybe other than her, if there was anybody that really impressed you or anything that you saw out of like the substitutions.
I think for me, it was the only one that I think we're hoping to see meaningful minutes for was Morgan Oliver, and I thought she looked really good. She came in on our near side as well, so got a really good look at her. But she was just really bright, really keen to take the ball on and got forward, put in a couple good crosses. So you could tell she had an infusion of energy. Like her energy really stood out, and she could make those runs. She was running out of tired back line, so I thought that that was. How many minutes did she get? 20.
Mm-hmm.
Good cameo
Just
for her.
about. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna be lame and I'm gonna say the same one because I thought the other two were kind of anonymous a little bit, especially because they were coming on when VB was just cruising, so that doesn't help. But I thought Oliver looked really good when she came on, and just honestly a really good sub because she just made an infusion of energy that you kind of need when you have a sub. So I'll be interested to see what she gets out. But yeah, I agree.
I was impressed by Annabelle Scherer just for like she looked incredibly young out there. It was like yeah, you could just tell that she was sort of younger and but she's quite tall, I think, and like
5'10" according to her.
And I was pretty impressed. Like I felt like she sort of like made her mark in the attack when we were trying to play down the right side. Like I was pleasantly surprised by what we saw out of her. And I only say surprised because we didn't know she was on the team. Like that was like, until the Matchday squad came out, we had no idea that was even a name that was playing for the Richmond Ivy. So and then to find out later, I think you put in your after things stat sheet that she's like a sophomore in high school. And I was like, wow, okay. So even for that, it's like I feel like she played really, really well.
Agreed. Yeah. And again, the reason I put 5'10" in there because a lot of these players are 5'6" and under. So having a female soccer player who is actually above average height is an advantage that most players do not have. And it's people with body types like that who actually they do have a better shot of going further in their career because you do start to filter out players who do not have the height advantage, do not have the pace advantage. So a player who is this young, who does have the build to be a pro soccer player, like that's ideally she should be a name that we'll be watching for a couple years because the ceiling would be high when you're actually tall enough to make it as a pro.
The ceiling is literally high because like it needs to be a high ceiling for you to fit there.
Yeah. So there were a couple players who did not make an appearance. Logan Marks was an unused goalkeeper on the bench. Ava Jung was listed, but as far as I can tell, she was not actually at the game. She was not on the bench. Bree Fulkerson and Morgan Oliver were also not on the bench. And then peeked out of the press box and they were being escorted by a staff member in full uniform across the concourse. So I don't know where they were before the match started, but it wasn't on the field warming up. So I don't know what happened there, but they did eventually make it onto the field. And then the youngest, and there was also another academy player whose last name was Martin. I did like some stalking in the Ivy following. And it looks like it could be Ava Martin, who is another teenager Richmond United product. She follows them on Instagram and has a soccer recruitment account. So a couple unused subs, but hopefully we'll see some more names on that bench once we're not actively on graduation weekend for most colleges and universities. Yeah, so kind of a flurry at the end for Virginia Beach, but I think Hargrove ultimately recorded one save. She did not actually do there was one where she kind of like came out and got big, and the low shot kind of just missed the post on the near side. But only one that she actually, from what I could tell, made. And it was like she just caught the ball. It was one of them without much sting on it, but she gets her first clean sheet of the season. We'll take that. The back line gets their first clean sheet of the season. That's good stuff. And our final totals were 16 shots, 7 of which were on target, 9 of which were off target, plus Cam hitting the woodwork. The downside was they did concede 5 shots in the second half, 2 on target, 3 off. One that Hargrove saved and 1 that hit the woodwork as well. But that was a real shot, so it counts. Yeah, so all in all, I think that was a pretty exciting way to start the season for the Richmond Ivy. Hopefully we'll get more of the same looking forward. To wrap up, I didn't know if there were any other things from the post-match press conference we wanted to mention. I know we already talked about Tucker saying that she plays on the left, but anything from Owusu that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, just a couple things. One more, like, just general take on like the way we played, I guess, while we're still in the game. I was very impressed with our corner service. I felt like Isa Elavara and I think Fitzgerald was taking them like towards the end of the game. I think like almost every single time it was like just above the 6 around the center of the box, where I feel like I think we had like 4 or 5 corners that every single time I was like, hey, that was really strong service. So I felt like hopefully we'll be a strong set piece team, at least from like a delivery standpoint, because I felt like we were really solid there. And then until that like flurry at the end, I know our defenders didn't get challenged too much, but I was like, our defenders looked supremely confident, particularly in the first half. Like, I know you said Ava Pustover usually plays on the outside, or she has for us in the past, but I thought the center back pairing, like with her and Cam, looked really, really strong. I was never too worried about anything back there. And then Trappic and Shea on the other side, I felt like really strong defensively, and even like we're getting involved in the attack quite a bit. So just those couple things, like from just final takes on the game itself. And then I can talk about the post-match interviews, but Alan, if you had anything left over that like from the game itself that you want to talk about? Nope. All good. Cool. Post-match interviews, a couple things stood out to me. I mean, first of all, if you haven't seen the post-match interviews, it's up on the YouTube. Kate asks some really good questions. Our very own Kate was like right there, the one asking the questions. Very cool. Owusu said a couple of things, like he was very adamant that like stay together and play together like was the message of the night. I think that makes a lot of sense in a lot of girls who have never played, or you know, the new girls especially who maybe haven't played in an environment like that before. Like there's going to be a lot of noise around you, literal and figurative noise. So just sort of like stick together and we'll get through it. Richmond is a special place for soccer was one of his quotes, which I was like, oh, that's so nice. Like, I'm so glad to be here, as I say that from a basement in Indianapolis. But I'll be back soon. He praised a few players. I thought Lauren called the opportunity to play for the Ivy a surreal dream come true, or something like that, which I think is really, really cool. She talked about how she built confidence with the Ivy last year, and that really helped her sort of like catapult into that Virginia Tech season, and then hopefully continue to see that. And then, yeah, like you said, Sunniyah Tucker playing on the left at Georgia State is really, really interesting, particularly because of how dominant she was on the right Saturday night. So, yeah, all very good stuff, I felt.
Yeah, it's cool, and I'll get you guys will definitely be doing them at some point. And have that down there with Mannion. The players, some of them are very confident. Lauren was saying as she walked away, she's like, they've never asked me to do one of these at Tech. I'm just waiting for it. You'd never known that she's not regularly doing post-game or mid-match interviews, because both of them were super articulate. Like, I am continually impressed with how well those players answer the questions. Their college educations are paying off. You can tell.
Yeah. And Lauren, one other thing that Lauren said, like, Alan, you were talking about, is Lauren bored back there? Like, should I get her some popcorn? Like, what, like, what can we do to keep her entertained? She said something in the post-game interview that I thought was particularly interesting, which probably is true for a lot of keepers. I was never a keeper myself, never really interacted with the keeper that much. But she was talking about, like, when there's nothing for me to do, my job is to organize our defense. And so, like, even when I'm not necessarily getting challenged or touching the ball or anything, like, it's my job, and I feel very confident in her back there. Like, she's sort of like one of the senior players on the team, and helping everybody sort of figure out like where they're at. And I thought that was really interesting, because I had the same thought, Alan, like all night, like, man, like, life is great for Lauren in the sense that, like, she's not conceding or really even coming close, but also it's got to be boring back there at times. So good to hear that she's like she's staying engaged in the game, and sort of helping out in the ways that she can.
Agree. Any last final thoughts on the game? I just hope more of the same. Again, we said this division is anyone's for the taking. This is early. This might not be indicative of the squad that Virginia Beach has for the rest of the season, obviously, maybe with their selection. But the Ivy can look this dominant against the rest of the teams in the division. I'm excited for what might lie in store in terms of our chances. We did have, so I don't actually listen to any sports podcast at all. So I was being educated on the fact that there are fun games that people like to play on sports podcasts. So Alex, would you share more about how we're going to conclude this episode?
Yeah, I just thought it would be fun to try to do a segment every week where we're like a start bench cut. So like of these three options, it's not always going to be people. In fact, it probably will never be people. Like, what is the thing that you would play every day? It's in your starting lineup. It's your favorite. What is something that you would love to keep around to substitute in if you could? It's like the sort of middle of the road thing for you. And what is something that, like, when it came down to cut day, you are cutting from your squad? And so the easiest thing for us to do this week is kits, because we had the kit launch. And so we will sort of talk through this start bench cut with our home kit, our away kit, and then we'll lump the two keeper kits into a singular unit of keeper kits. So I know that there were some thoughts out there that you guys had, so I'll let you guys go first for which kit you would start, which kit you would bench, and which kit you would cut.
I can go first because I think I'm the most Debbie Downer on the kits. I know it immediately which one I would cut, and that's the keeper kits, because last year's keeper kit was so good. Like, that, like, as good as all the jerseys have been, I still feel like that pink keeper kit from last season is one of the best jerseys I've ever seen. So they always had a very high bar, and it was so good that I'm kind of like, oh, just bring it back. I think people would have still bought, like, that's one that people wished they'd bought. Like, that was such an iconic kit. So I'm sorry to the keeper kits. You're fine, but the purple doesn't do it for me. I don't see it in the crest family that much. It feels a bit like a random addition. And so I'm actually gonna start the away kit. I don't know. I don't love a black kit. The Kickers have really leaned in to black or black adjacent kits in the last couple, or like the organization at large has this like obsession with inserting black into the teams, which like is not part of the color scheme at all. So like, I think it's cool. But I'm very drippy kit averse, in which it feels like the point of the kit was to be drippy. I'm like, ugh, we don't. That's my personal preference. I'm not a.
So you hate
kit.
fun. So what we're hearing is you're not a big fun person.
Yeah, so I like the lighter green one feels like I could see where they were coming from it. So I'm gonna start that, but I will come out bravely and say I do think it's almost criminal that they are still charging $90 for kits that get worn for 6 months, 8 weeks of the year, and because the kits were really good last year, and I already paid so much for my season ticket, and I already paid so much for season tickets for the Kickers, and now you want $90 more from me. Have mercy.
But don't you get a
Uh,
we get a discount, right? City Stadium Plus / season ticket, or you get
That
15% or
10
whatever.
whole percent on a
Oh,
$90
is it 10?
ticket.
Yeah. Well,
15
that's less
whole
good.
buckaroos, and only
Whew.
10 of those actually
And
go
that's
without tax.
before you get the customization. Don't even get me started on the customization. My Cam Simmons kit from last season, I'm just glad she still is number 9 because I don't know if I could handle it being obsolete that quickly.
Yeah. I guess I'll go next. We're all gonna do it. They're all on the block. I'm gonna cut them keeper kits because I can't get down with them. I can never get down with a keeper kit. They're always the most boring ones, except for the ones from the '90s, which are great. But we've literally never gone back to those since the 1990s. So until that happens, they're always gonna be on the chopping block. I'm actually going to go exactly the same as Kate on this one because I bought the away kit because I was like, that's pretty good. I like what they were doing, even though I think that it could have been done a little better. I really like that, and I don't like the black. It's just not. I kind of, if I'm gonna be a grandma for a second, I kind of just wish we had a green kit that was just green, that was just our colors. Because also the weirdest part is that the logo isn't it ain't in there anymore. So the logo, even for the black kit, doesn't have the orange anymore. So we just
Mm,
cut it out completely.
oh,
So we just have
right.
this third color that's just not on any of the kits other than the keeper kit, which is
The away
pumpkin
keeper kit.
orange. The
Yeah.
away keeper kit. So yeah, that's my gone for similar reasons. I think the mint works, and I think the away is, or the whole, whichever one they are. I don't even know. They're both green. Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't know which one is which.
Now Alex is gonna mic drop on both of us.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna mic drop. I just feel very differently than you guys, and I think that's okay. We're allowed to have some discourse on our show. Like ESPN and Fox Sports are all building entire franchises off of people arguing with each other. So maybe we're like right in line for that. But so I am going to. Well, we started with cut, right? So you guys are gonna hate me. I'm gonna cut the mint kit. I think that is my least favorite of the three. And it is not an attack on you guys' artistic visions. It is just that is my least favorite. I'm just not vibing with it. But I'm also the guy that was on the kickers concourse when I first moved here, where we still had like, it was like halfway through the season where they launched the like red night kit that was like all black with like a little bit of red on it, and it was
Yeah.
sold out. And I was like, that's the jersey that I want, because I really liked it. So I like a black kit. I think the black and the green look really good together. So I'm going to start the black kit, or the home kit, I think we're calling it, and then I'm going to bench the keeper kit because I do not hate them with the vigor that you that you guys do. I don't love the orange, I'll be honest, but I like the purple, and somebody's got to keep the keeper's kit. Like, so I'm going to be that brave individual that keeps the keeper's kit. So we'll try to do one of these every week with different things. They will never be people. We'll never actually cut someone. But
Mm.
keep an eye out.
Will be harsh. I think they all are called the woven together kit, which that's another
Yeah.
thing. They all have to have names. Every kit has to have a name now. Like they can't just be a shirt. Like they all have to have a short story that like a company.
Branding. It's
dumbest
branding.
The dumbest one of these was season 5 of Atlanta United, my beloved, stupid Atlanta United. And they had our 5th season, we had a black home kit, which everybody called the banjo kit because it looked like 5 banjo strings because we're the 5 stripes, but they were like itty bitty. And they were like all like guitar strings. So it just looked terrible. Anyway, point being, the actual official name for this stupid thing was the black kit, but not black spelled like black with the A replaced with a V for 5. So it was the Blvik kit. is how it looked all the time.
See,
So
doesn't that make you feel better about Richmond Ivy kits and branding?
I'll take woven together rather than Blavik.
Yeah,
Yes,
there we
I'll
go.
take that all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's okay if you say this is our home kit because we wear green. Like to me, I know I'm a purist in that regard, but I'm like, I don't necessarily need a story. I work in marketing. I get it.
I was
I
gonna
work
say,
in
here you are on a whole show in which we are like creating stories around everything, and you're like, nah, stories not really for me, guys.
No, I like it, you can tell me our kid is green because that's the color in our badge. And I said, great. Perfect. I'll give you $90 right now.
But then what will you tell them next year? Or we just every year we're gonna go, it's green because we're green.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's fine. That's probably a good idea. That would work.
Where would marketing consultants be? We have to create value for marketing consultants somewhere.
There you go.
They're an oppressed breed. All right, so we have talked your ear off. We managed to cut 15 minutes off our opening show, but we still have talked for 1 hour and 15 minutes. We had a lot to cover home opener, so we'll see how rich we get in the rest of the season. Hopefully we get lots of goals, lots of things to discuss, but we will leave you now. I'm not sure. Schedule check. This is the one thing I did not look at. What are we looking at for this upcoming week? I know that they play at home again.
Saturday at 5 p.m., which is an interesting one, but yes. So Saturday at 5. And then I think the following week is the VB Norfolk combo thing where it's like Wednesday it's VB and then it's the Saturday is Norfolk.
Yes.
And they're both away.
Correct. I'm checking now to make sure that oh gosh, of course they only have the promotional schedule. I just want the regular schedule. Okay, yeah, they don't play away this week. So next week we will also only have a 1 match show. So get excited for the green out. Come to the tailgate, wear green, bring green drinks, bring green food. It's going to be green, green, green all the way around. Can't wait. And we will see you. We will all be there in person next week. So come up, talk to us, ask us questions, give us topics to talk about on future shows. We're really excited for this. And we can't wait to see you all in person next week at City Stadium. And until then, be easy and be safe.